put their lives at risk simply by posting pictures and descriptions of what they're seeing on the Arab street. During Egypt's uprising, an anonymous blogger who called himself Sand Monkey gained international notoriety. We now know who he is, an Egyptian-born, U.S.-educated, 29-year-old named Mahmoud Salem. A little bit earlier, he was right here. I want your thoughts today on the fact that President Mubarak, who was forced from office by your revolution, is now in custody and being questioned. Do you view this as a legitimate investigation by the now military transitional government?
Well, they were basically forced into launching the investigation by us because we wouldn't stop until, we managed to get him. I think that the transitional government wanted to, focus more on the other, institutional corruption and then, just kind of wait for it. But now it has to be done and the evidence has been there. I mean, ignore all the evidence that's been in Egypt. All you have to do is read the human rights reports that are being published by the U.S. State Department for 30 years about the crimes of the Mubarak regime and the fact that he is in absolute control and power of the entire country to actually see the extent of human rights abuses and corruption. I mean, you saw it on TV, the kind of things that were happening to us.
And yet sometimes there's a debate that if you spend so much time and energy looking back to punish, that you might lose focus and energy on the challenges in front of you. How do you strike that balance?
Well, here's the thing. He was the big fish. We finally got him. That's fine. Now we can focus on the parliamentary elections. But there was no way that we were able to move on when justice wasn't served, and this man's arrest and trial is the way to flip the page and get over with that part of Egyptian history and moving on.
Let's talk about that challenge. I want to read something you tweeted. Yes. On February 11th. Again, you're Mahmoud Salem, but you're at Sand Monkey. To your followers, to everyone who ridiculed us, opposed us, wanted us to compromise, I say, you are welcome. Today we all celebrate. How do you keep the energy of that remarkable revolution into now the more mundane, difficult, challenging, and sometimes divisive business of political organizing?
Well, the idea is simple. Again, we need to understand that there is the rest of the country. A lot of people who, honestly speaking, just want to live their lives and not really bother with what's happening. All they want was stability and to work and to feed their kids. And now they're very concerned about what's happening. And the fact is, nobody's focused on the economy. I mean, even the government is not focused on the economy. The closest thing we got for an economic plan was, well, the protests have to stop. Because the wheel of production somehow arrives at Tahrir and can't pass from all the protests that are happening. It's not like they haven't offered any kind of economic solution. So what we have to do is also start offering economic solutions, start talking to international community and be like, well, let's figure out a way to bring Egypt back up, because you don't want poverty to actually bring about another revolution that might not end up being as peaceful or as good as this one. Not to mention, we also want people, and I have to say this here, come to Egypt. Okay, come visit Egypt. We have fantastic resorts, we have fantastic beaches. It's really cheap right now, and you might get some revolution tourism out of it.
You're campaigning for Minister of Tourism here.
I know.
Take us back. We're laughing now, which is a great. It's a great gift. Yeah. Take us back to when, in the middle of this, you were arrested. What happened?
Well, it was the day after the day they sent camels and horses against us. And I managed to completely not be there when that happened. I had left before then. And I spent that entire night, a lot of people have spent that night with us just watching what was happening, which was basically a massacre. So the next day I wrote this post, urging people, to go down to Tahrir and, help people out. And I took medical supplies and I went there. And when I arrived, Mubarak thugs at the rendezvous point, Mubarak thugs attacked me. I escaped with the car. And I arrived at 5 police officers, asking me to protect the girls. We had 3 girls with us. I'm like, just get us out because of the girls. I don't care, just whatever. They take away our IDs. They tell us our IDs are fake. They start bringing about people around us, telling us that we're American and Zionist agents, that we're here to destroy the country. And what followed was a 45-minute zombie attack movie, when they took away the car keys and basically we're inside the car, being beat up from inside the car, people destroying the car, jumping on the car, trying to flip the car, bringing out ropes and telling us that they're going to lynch us. One of my friends ended up getting rocks in his face. One of the girls ended up getting a tire iron hit in her arm. It wasn't fun until I had to jump from my car to the police car, and my car got completely destroyed because of it. And they took, everything that I had in the car. And it doesn't matter. I got detained for a couple of hours and I managed to get out that day. But at the end of the day, that was, the last throws, if you will.
Are you convinced those dark forces are now completely purged, or are some of them going to try to pretend to be reformers, pretend to be people who want a place in the new next Egypt?
Well, they're already pretending, and there comes a point in which, well, I don't want them to be part of it at all. in reality. But if you look at the history of countries like
Do you worry
ours,
about that, though? Do you worry that there are dark forces, or there are forces that have no interest in sharing your goals for Egypt?
No, of course, there are ones from the NDP, there are ones from the Islamists, like, a lot of people are trying to stop us from trying to get a secular civil, constitution and one that has equality for everybody, because, trust me, we don't want to get into war with Israel, we don't want to create an Islamic state, and this falls to the entirety of the Egyptian people. A lot of people still believe so. They would like to see an Islamic country or whatever, but we're trying really hard to ensure that we have a society that protects minorities, protects the rights of women, that finally get us into the 21st century instead of trying to get us back to the 1600s.
How much of the credit goes to things like this? To a generation that operates in technology and that organized using
the
Twitter,
generation,
Facebook,
the credit
and the like.
goes to the generation. The technology is a tool. I mean, we had to use Facebook, because you couldn't exactly call for a revolution on the news, and that's the thing. You had to use Twitter because we didn't have any kind of ways to communicate with each other. But the reality is, they shut down our internet 27th, and we managed to increase it on 28th and the following Tuesday, and so on and so forth. The narrative about this being a social media revolution, well, with all due respect, don't get me wrong, but this is part of the laziness of foreign media. I mean, when I was watching the Tunisian revolution happen, I tweeted saying, "Dear foreign media, if you call this revolution one of your stupid names like the Couscous Revolution, I'll be really mad." And they called it the Jasmine Revolution. And if you ask a single Tunisian, they'll tell you, "We don't know why they called it the Jasmine Revolution. We have no clue." The same thing with Bahrain. They called it the Lulu Revolution. And you can't call a revolution started by Arabs the Lulu Revolution. We're Arabs. We're supposed to be scary, okay? You can't call it Lulu, all right? And Facebook, and it was fine. It was a good narrative. It's easy, I guess for the international viewers to identify with Facebook and to identify with Egypt or Tunisia, But in reality, those are tools. They're very important tools, but they're nothing if you don't have the will. If you're not the kind of individual who's willing to risk it all to ensure the better future for your country.
Well, I hope you'll let me call it a remarkable historic revolution. And thank you for coming in.
I will cover that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ahead here.